Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The Toronto Blue Jays offseason just went from quiet to absolutely explosive, and what's unfolding right now has the entire baseball world sitting up and taking notice. After watching helplessly as Kyle Tucker slipped through their fingers and seeing Bo Bichette rumors fizzle out, the front office has apparently decided enough is enough. They're making a statement, they're flexing those financial muscles, and they're doing it in the most dramatic way possible, by targeting one of the most talented yet controversial pitchers on the free agent market. This isn't some random rumor from a sketchy source or wishful thinking from desperate fans. This is coming straight from the top-tier insiders, the guys who don't miss, the reporters who have direct lines to front offices and agents. When Jon Heyman drops a bomb like this, you pay attention. When Joel Sherman backs it up, you know something real is happening. And when Heyman himself comes out swinging at people calling it a leverage play, telling conspiracy theorists they're completely off the mark, you know the Blue Jays aren't just kicking tires here. They're serious, they're engaged, and they might actually pull off something that seemed completely impossible just 48 hours ago. We're talking about Framber Valdez, the Houston Astros ace, the left-handed ground ball machine who has been one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball over the past several seasons. This is a guy who posted ace-caliber numbers in 2024, someone who knows what it takes to win in October, a pitcher who has stood on the mound in the World Series and delivered when it mattered most. And now, somehow, someway, the Blue Jays have emerged as legitimate contenders to land him. Let's break down exactly what happened, because the timeline here is absolutely wild. The NBA trade deadline is dominating sports headlines with Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors swirling. Baseball is in that weird dead zone between the winter signing frenzy and spring training. A few minor trades are trickling through, but nothing major. The rumor mill has slowed to a crawl. Everyone's kind of just waiting for pitchers and catchers to report. Then out of absolutely nowhere, Jon Heyman fires off a tweet that stops Blue Jays fans mid-scroll. He reports that Toronto is among several teams with serious interest in Framber Valdez, citing both his own reporting and information from Joel Sherman, another heavyweight in the baseball journalism world. Now here's where it gets interesting, and where you can tell something genuinely different is happening this time. Heyman doesn't just throw Toronto's name out there alongside 5 or 6 other teams. He specifically mentions the Blue Jays. Just them. Not the Orioles, who everyone assumes are the frontrunners. Not the Astros, who might want to bring their guy back home. Just Toronto. That's deliberate, that's intentional, and that's telling you something about where the conversations actually stand. But we've all been burned before, right? How many times have we seen the Blue Jays used as leverage to drive up prices for other teams? How many times have agents leaked Toronto's interest just to make their preferred landing spot sweat a little and add a few extra million to the contract? Blue Jays fans have become conditioned to expect disappointment, trained to assume that any exciting rumor is probably just smoke and mirrors designed to benefit everyone except Toronto. That's exactly what people started saying immediately. The replies to Heyman's tweet filled up with cynical takes about agents using Toronto as leverage for Baltimore, about the Astros playing games to get Valdez back at a discount, about the same old story playing out again. Just the Blue Jays being the beautiful bride that never actually gets chosen. The team that drives up the price so someone else can swoop in and close the deal. Except this time, something completely unprecedented happened. Jon Heyman, a reporter who typically just drops his information and moves on, actually came back and directly addressed the skepticism. When someone suggested this was agents making the Orioles sweat, Heyman quote-tweeted them and said, "Unsurprisingly, conspiracy theorist misses the mark." He didn't ignore it. He didn't let it slide. He directly pushed back against the idea that this is just a leverage play. That's massive. That tells you everything you need to know about how real this actually is. Think about what that means for a second. Jon Heyman has zero incentive to go to bat for the Blue Jays if they're just being used. He gains nothing from defending Toronto's legitimacy as a suitor if he knows they're just playing a supporting role in someone else's contract negotiation. The fact that he felt strongly enough to directly counter that narrative tells you his sources have made it crystal clear that Toronto's interest is genuine, substantial, and competitive. So who exactly is Framber Valdez, and why would the Blue Jays be going all in on a guy who already has some concerning baggage attached to his name? Let's talk about the elephant in the room first because we can't ignore it. Valdez has developed something of a reputation for clubhouse issues. There was that infamous incident where he deliberately threw a fastball at his own catcher, apparently because of a sign mix-up or miscommunication. It was bizarre, it was unprofessional, and it raised serious questions about his temperament and ability to handle frustration. For a Blue Jays team that has spent the last year cultivating what might legitimately be one of the best clubhouse cultures in all of baseball, that's obviously a concern. The chemistry in that locker room right now is exceptional. Players genuinely like each other, they're having fun, they're loose, and that positive energy translates onto the field. Do you really want to risk disrupting that by bringing in someone with known attitude issues? It's a fair question, and one that management is undoubtedly wrestling with behind the scenes. But here's the counterargument, and why the Blue Jays might feel confident they can handle whatever personality quirks Valdez brings with him. If any clubhouse in baseball can absorb a complicated personality and keep things running smoothly, it's this one. You've got veteran leaders who know how to manage egos and keep everyone focused. You've got a diverse group of players from different backgrounds who have proven they can work through challenges together. You've got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Danny Jansen, who could potentially be the perfect battery mates to keep Valdez calm and focused on the mound. And let's be real, the talent is absolutely undeniable. When you look past the personality concerns and focus purely on what Framber Valdez brings to the table as a pitcher, the fit with Toronto is almost too perfect to pass up. This is a left-handed sinker ball pitcher who generates ground balls at an elite rate. He pounds the bottom of the zone, induces weak contact, and turns batted balls into outs before they ever leave the infield. That style of pitching plays up dramatically when you have elite infield defense behind you. And guess what Toronto just happens to have? Ernie Clement and Andres Jimenez give the Blue Jays one of the best middle infield defensive combinations in all of baseball. These guys turn double plays in their sleep, they have incredible range, and they make the routine plays look easy while also pulling off the spectacular. For a pitcher like Valdez, who lives and dies by getting ground ball outs, having that kind of defensive support behind him could be the difference between being good and being dominant. Think about the Kyle Tucker pursuit that just fell through. Think about the Bob Bichette rumors that never materialized. Both of those moves would have been about adding offensive firepower, but they also would have upgraded the team's defense in meaningful ways. The front office clearly understands that championship teams are built on strong defense up the middle, and adding Valdez to pitch in front of that elite infield defense fits perfectly into that philosophy. The financial side of this is where things get really interesting, and where you can start to see a path for Toronto to actually land Valdez without completely blowing up their payroll structure. Spotrac initially projected Valdez's market value at 6 years and $200 million, a massive contract that would have represented a significant long-term commitment. If those numbers were still on the table, the Blue Jays wouldn't be in this conversation. They're not giving Framber Valdez a 6-year deal, and frankly, nobody should at this point in the market. But here's the thing, that market has completely cratered. We're approaching March, and Valdez still doesn't have a deal. That 6-year, $200 million projection looks increasingly like Fantasyland. The longer he sits unsigned, the more leverage teams gain, and the more realistic a short-term, high-value contract becomes. And that's where Toronto could swoop in and offer something that makes sense for everyone involved. Multiple analysts and insiders are now suggesting that a 2-year high average annual value deal with a player opt-out after year 1 could be the sweet spot. Imagine something like 2 years and $60 million, with Valdez able to opt out after the first season if he pitches well. From the pitcher's perspective, you're getting elite money in year 1, you're betting on yourself to rebuild your value, and you're positioning yourself for another crack at free agency when you're still in your prime if things go well. From Toronto's perspective, this is almost risk-free. You're getting a potential ace for at minimum 1 year, giving yourself a legitimate shot at winning a World Series, and you're not committed long-term if things don't work out. If the clubhouse stuff becomes a problem, he opts out and leaves after 1 year. No harm done. If he opts in for year 2 but the fit isn't working, you're only stuck with him for 1 more season. The downside is incredibly limited while the upside is massive. And let's talk about the timing, because there's another huge factor at play here that makes a short-term deal even more attractive for Toronto. There's a very real possibility of a lockout after this season when the current collective bargaining agreement expires. Nobody knows exactly what the next CBA will look like or how it might impact player salaries and team spending. By keeping Valdez on a short-term deal, the Blue Jays maintain maximum flexibility to adjust their roster and spending in response to whatever new economic realities emerge from those negotiations. You're also looking at a rotation situation that has some genuine question marks beyond this season. Kevin Gausman becomes a free agent after 2026. Jose Barrios has a player option he'll almost certainly opt out of to test free agency. You don't know if Chris Bassett or Yusei Kikuchi will be back. There are serious durability questions around both Trey Savage and Cody Ponce, 2 talented young pitchers who simply haven't proven they can handle a full-season workload at the major league level yet. Adding Valdez doesn't just upgrade the rotation for this year, it also gives you insurance and depth for when injuries inevitably happen. It gives you a proven veteran who can eat innings and keep you competitive even when other starters go down. And if you do get him on a 2-year deal with an opt-out, he could potentially fill one of those rotation spots in 2027 when Gausman and Barrios might both be gone. The current projected rotation would be Gausman, Shane Bieber, Bassett, Savage, and Ponce, with guys like Bowden Francis and others providing depth. That's solid, that's competitive, but is it championship caliber? Is that a rotation you feel completely confident taking into October against the Yankees or Dodgers or Braves? Adding Valdez immediately transforms that from a good rotation into a potentially dominant one. You're talking about three legitimate top-of-the-rotation arms in Gausman, Valdez, and Bieber when healthy, with quality depth behind them. Now let's address the elephant in the room that Blue Jays fans are probably screaming about right now. What about the Orioles? Aren't they the favorites here? Don't they have more prospect capital to offer? Haven't they been linked to Valdez for longer? Yes, yes, and yes. Baltimore absolutely remains the favorite in most people's minds, and there's good reason for that. They have an excellent young core, they're positioned to compete for championships immediately, and they have the kind of farm system depth that could potentially be attractive in any trade scenarios. But here's the thing. The longer this drags out without Baltimore closing the deal, the better it is for Toronto. If the Orioles were going to sign Valdez, they probably would have done it already. The fact that we're in early February and he's still available suggests that maybe the fit isn't as perfect as everyone assumed. Or maybe there are concerns on Baltimore's side about the contract structure or the personality issues or something else entirely. Meanwhile, every day that passes is another day that Valdez's market softens and another day that Toronto's financial flexibility becomes more attractive. The Blue Jays can offer stability, they can offer money, they can offer that elite infield defense, and they can offer a genuine path to winning immediately. They're not some rebuilding team hoping to compete in 2 or 3 years. They're trying to win right now, and Valdez would be a huge part of that equation. The Astros angle is fascinating too, because for the longest time people assumed Houston might just bring their guy back home. He knows the organization, he knows the city, he's had tremendous success there, and they could use another frontline starter. But Astros GM Dana Brown recently went on record saying they, quote, haven't had any conversations lately, end quote, about Valdez returning. That's a pretty definitive statement that suggests Houston has moved on and is pursuing other options. So if Baltimore isn't closing the deal, if Houston is out, if the market has dried up, where does that leave Framber Valdez? It leaves him in a position where a team like Toronto, that can offer both immediate competitive relevance and financial security, starts looking pretty appealing. The Blue Jays aren't some small market team begging him to take a discount. They're a franchise ready to spend real money to win right now. One thing that's getting lost in all the Valdez excitement is some other news that dropped recently that Blue Jays fans should definitely be aware of. The team announced they'll be unveiling a statue on July 18th to commemorate the back-to-back World Series championships in 1992 and 93. The Ted Rogers statue that's currently outside Gate 6 is being removed and relocated to a corporate office, and in its place there will be a Joe Carter statue honoring one of the most iconic moments in franchise history. That's pretty cool, and it speaks to an organization that's trying to honor its past while building toward future glory. Those championship teams from the early 90s set the standard for what Blue Jays baseball can be at its best, and honoring Joe Carter and that incredible home run is a nice way to remind everyone that this franchise has championship pedigree. Now it's about getting back to that level and competing for titles again. There's also some interesting buzz building around Dalton Varsho as we head into 2026. A lot of people are seriously underrating him right now, with various lists coming out that don't even have him ranked as a top 10 center fielder. That's absolutely insane when you consider his defensive value, his ability to impact the game in multiple ways, and the potential he showed when healthy. If Varsho can stay on the field for a full season, he's going to surprise a lot of people and remind everyone why Toronto traded for him in the first place. But let's bring it back to Valdez, because that's the story that has everyone's attention right now. What does this mean for the Blue Jays going forward? It means they're not content to just run it back with the same roster and hope for better results. It means ownership is willing to spend money to upgrade the team in meaningful ways. It means the front office has identified pitching as a priority, and they're going after one of the best available arms on the market. If Toronto actually lands Framber Valdez, it completely changes the calculus for the season ahead. You're not just hoping to sneak into the playoffs and get hot at the right time. You're building a rotation that can go toe-to-toe with anyone in October. You're giving yourself the kind of starting pitching depth that championship teams need when the games matter most. You're showing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette and the rest of your core players that this organization is serious about winning right now. The skeptics will point to the clubhouse concerns, the injury history, the fact that Valdez's numbers took a slight dip late in 2024, and those are all fair points worth considering. But championship teams take calculated risks on talented players. They don't play it safe and settle for comfortable mediocrity. They identify difference makers and they go get them even when there's some risk involved. And let's be honest, what's the alternative here? Stand pat with the current rotation and hope everything breaks right? Watch another contender swoop in and grab Valdez while Toronto sits on the sidelines? Continue to be the team that gets close but never quite closes the deal on the big moves? At some point, you have to be aggressive, you have to be bold, and you have to be willing to make the kinds of moves that separate pretenders from contenders. The fact that John Heyman felt strongly enough to directly push back against people dismissing this as a leverage play tells you everything you need to know about how serious the Blue Jays' interest actually is. The fact that Valdez is still unsigned this deep into February tells you the market has shifted in favor of teams that are ready to move quickly with the right offer. The fact that Toronto has the financial flexibility, the defensive profile, and the win-now mentality tells you they might actually be the perfect landing spot. This is the kind of move that could define the Blue Jays' offseason and potentially their entire season. It's the kind of signing that gets fans excited, that makes players believe they can compete for a championship, and that sends a message to the rest of the league that Toronto is all in on winning right now. Whether it actually happens remains to be seen, but the fact that it's a legitimate possibility is incredibly exciting. So what happens next? We wait, we watch, we see if Toronto can close the deal on what would be one of the most impactful signings of the entire offseason. We see if the financial flexibility and elite defense are enough to convince Valdez that Toronto is where he belongs. We see if Ross Atkins can pull off the kind of aggressive move that changes the trajectory of a franchise. One thing is certain. Blue Jays fans should be paying very close attention over the next few days and weeks because something real is happening here. This isn't just smoke, this isn't just leverage, this is a genuine opportunity to land a frontline starter who could be the final piece that transforms a good team into a great one. The pieces are falling into place, the market is shifting in Toronto's favor, and the opportunity is there for the taking. Now it's just about whether the Blue Jays are ready to seize it and make the kind of bold move that championship contenders make. If you found this breakdown helpful and you want to stay on top of all the latest Blue Jays news as this Framber Valdez situation continues to develop, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below and let me know whether you think Toronto should go all in on Valdez or if the clubhouse concerns are too big to ignore. And smash that like button if you're as excited as I am about the possibility of adding an ace-caliber pitcher to this rotation.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.